Hello, yes, that's right. It's Joe here for Joyrider TV live with some more Q&A where I'm going to be tackling your fiercest catamaran sailing questions. So yes, lead topic. Why is it that when I'm sailing downwind or when you're sailing downwind in a race, in a competitive situation, why is it that I am losing out to other boats? We're going to take a deep dive into that. That should be quite interesting. So I have made some notes, and we're going to be taking a look at that. Before we take a look at that, I just wanted to give a little bit of what's the word, publicity to some things that are going on. The first one is on the WaterSpeed app on the telephone. If you go to this is for iOS devices. I'm going to show you an alternative after this for people using Android. But if you go to your challenges, or if you haven't signed up yet, available challenges, and there will be Joyrider TV 6 weeks of speed. Click on that, and there's a fairly sort of an image you'd feel fairly familiar with. And then every time you go sailing using the WaterSpeed app, your speed will be added to the list. At the moment, the top speed is 5-second average. It's 24.3 knots. Now, one small thing with the WaterSpeed app, with this challenge that I haven't managed to find out how it works, but I want to see what Owen, who did 24.3 knots, was actually sailing to hit that average speed, because that is absolutely cooking on gas, as we would know. Oh, there it is. Is that it? I see. Equipment. That was on an F16, a good old Viper. Let's just check that. Oh no, it says everyone was on a good old Viper F16. All right, so going to come back to you on that one. But let's just see if I've got this installed on here. Sorry for the clanky start. No. All right, so that didn't work. Oh yes, so if you're using Android, there is another app which is very good to use. It's called Sail Free GPS, and I believe it is completely free of charge. It gives you loads of stats, and it is very good. Sail Free GPS. If you're on Android, check that one out. If you're on iOS, check out WaterSpeed and sign up to the 6 weeks of speed. So there we go. That was the first one. The second one is, as you may be aware, I've been working at and living pretty much, the family will contest to that, at Wild Wind Sailing Holidays for the last nearly 30 years. And I've always thought it's the best place to go sailing, probably in Europe, because of the facilities, the conditions, the place, the vibe, the whole package. It is very good. Now, at the moment, I've just actually launched a raffle, like a competition. You buy a ticket, or you buy as many tickets as you want, and then the raffle is running for 2 weeks. When that 2 weeks is up, whoever's ticket gets picked wins the prize. What's the prize? The prize is a week for 2 people, or I suppose if you're one person, 2 weeks. Maybe that's how it works. At Wild Wind Sailing Holidays, doing as much sailing as you want on whatever boats you want, from the full range that Wild Wind Sailing Holidays have got down there on the beach. You know, whether it's a laser, a Hobie 16, a 49er, RS 800, Hobie Tiger, C2, Tornado, whatever you fancy, that is what you should do. Includes instruction as well. There's a link to the, where is the link? That is a good question. I'll sniff out that link and I'll put it somewhere. I'll put it in the video description below. But in fact, in one of the previous videos, there's a link to that raffle that's going on, just running for 2 weeks. So get involved. So I'll just check in with everybody who's checking in at the moment as well, seeing as I'm not launching straight into topic number 1. And so straight in, we've got Leland Lee in Clearwater, Florida, flying the flag for Florida in the live chat. Nice to have you with us, Lee, as always. And Scott is there as well, dropping it into the slot. I believe, interestingly enough, it was actually Scott who prompted me to do it, but I redid the all-time Hobie 16 speed results this week, and I'm just going to see if I can get this up here without too much messing around. What's it called? TotalJoyrider.com. There we go. I've been there before. Hobie 16 all-time leaderboard, and who is top of the single-handed all-time leaderboard? It is Scott. Congratulations, Scott. Just managing one position behind is Jimmy Carpenter in Australia, and on the all-time leaderboard there are big speeds on here. Don't be scared, but Scott is 23.72 knots single-handed on the 16, with Jimmy just behind with 23.2. It shows when you're hungry for it, it's out there. Fix your rudders, get out there, curl your toes, and put in the big speeds. We've got Benny on board in Sweden. Hello, Benny. Nice to have you with us. And I think that's probably about time to look at the downwind sailing topic. So this has been brought to my attention by Bone Crusher 94 for S2. Why are other people beating me downwind? Well, in fact, I would say one of the biggest factors to downwind sailing is it's going to be boat speed. One way or another, your boat speed is probably letting you down, and sounds pretty obvious. It's either boat speed or you're just going the wrong way if you're sailing a longer distance than you need to. So let's have our downwind course. How far can we go? Let's go there. And downwind, we'd have gone round the top buoy, and there we are. All right, so one thing that affects boat speed, which is difficult to do anything about, is if your team is heavy. Downwind, especially in light winds, if you are the heaviest team on the water, or if you are heavier than, like, say, you're sailing against one other boat, if you're heavier than the people on the other boat, basically on the downwind, because we're not really lifting a hull, or if we do lift the hull, it means we can actually sail deeper downwind. The less weight you have on the boat, the faster and potentially deeper your boat is going to go. So if you're sailing with, you know, 2 realistic size gentlemen on the boat, that would probably be about 180 kilos, which is, can we do this? 180 kg, which is nearly 400 pounds. You know, that's 2 realistic size gentlemen who enjoy a barbecue at the weekend. I know I'm in that category. You know, and then you're sailing against maybe a mixed team or a team of people who enjoy rock climbing or jogging or any sort of of that sort of stuff at the weekend, who might come in at, I don't know, £100 less. They are going to be quicker. You have to accept that, but you have to just do what you can to keep up. In fact, on the race course, or when you're out sailing, if you are a heavy team, if you are over the minimum weight, now this is going to be the harsh truth, so I want you all to brace yourselves, especially if you're in the barbecue loving weight category. The only time when a heavier team is going to benefit over a lighter team is in heavier winds, when you're trying to depower the boat on the upwind point of sail, and perhaps a bit on a 2-sail reach. But if you consider most racing is either upwind or downwind, and let's just put it in 2 wind strengths. 1 wind strength when you're looking for power, 1 when you're looking to lose power. So that's 4 different things. So we've got up, light, that's an L for light, down, light, up, strong, down, strong. The only time that the heavy team is actually going to benefit is upwind, strong. So if you're heavier than the minimum weight, you are going to be up against it a little bit against the lighter weight teams. And part of this whole process of sailboat racing is, unfortunately for a lot of us, for all of us probably, it's outside of your possibilities, but it's choosing a good class of boat for your weight. Now, I know that 99 times out of 100, it's not actually possible to choose the type of boat which you want to sail according to your combined team weight. Your choice of boat is probably going to come down to, if you're very lucky, you'll choose a boat because of the type of boat other people sail in your area. If there's a big Prindle 15 fleet in your area, it makes sense to also sail a Prindle 15 so that you're racing in the same type of boat as everyone else. If everyone's racing F18, then F18's the one. Hobie 16, yes. Laser, yes. Whatever most people are sailing, that's the best class to be in because of the good even competition. But the second choice reason why people choose what boat they choose is because they like it. I like the Hobie 16, even though I am, this is personally speaking, even though I am way too heavy to sail competitively on that type of boat. And the third reason is it's because that's what you've got, or because you saw one advertised and you thought that's the right price, it's in the right place, I'm going to get that and I'm going to do what I can with that type of boat. Whereas in fact, if you really wanted to do well, if you're a heavier team, it's the heavyweights who are penalized more so than the lightweights, because there's a lot of choices for lightweight sailors, but fewer good choices for heavyweight teams. If you're a heavyweight team, you really want to be looking at something in the, ideally, this is ideally in the 20-foot category, like Hobie 20, a Nacra, I think Nacra 20, something like that, which has a lot of volume. Even the Tornado is not a high volume boat, and it favors the lighter teams as well, apart from upwind strong, when Captain Heavyweight and teammate can really open her up. And it's on the upwind strong when the heavyweights really, that is a good reason, if you're heavy, practice your strong wind, upwind sailing. So then on the day when that happens at a regatta, you can just be like grinning to yourself saying, oh yeah, all right, it's time to take the fleet apart, because you know how to handle the boat in those conditions, and you know you've got the weight to pin it down, which means you don't have to sail super high. You can sail super fast, so the boat works more effectively and you just destroy the fleet. Very nice. Back to the downwind. So what can we do? All right, let's disregard weight. So first thing that we're disregarding weight. So this is the first thing. First thing that is going to affect us. What is the most important thing when we're sailing? It is our course. So if we're sailing too high or too low, if we're sailing too high, let's do two boats. So if we're sailing too high, it means we're going to end up sailing much more. We might go a bit faster, but we're going to end up sailing much more distance than we have to. If we're sailing too low, then it means that the sails aren't working correctly. So as we know, on a catamaran, we're just talking two sails at the moment. We'll come on to the Spinnaker in a second. But on a catamaran, when we're sailing downwind, we want, let's zoom in. We want our wind indicators, this is our wind indicator, flying straight across the boat. So we've got our true wind coming from here. I know we've been through this before, but we're going through it again. True wind coming from here. Induced wind that we create by going forwards coming from here. And then that means our apparent wind, the wind that we're actually sailing on, is coming directly across the boat. So if we start slowing down, we're going to lose some induced wind. So the apparent wind is going to start blowing forwards a bit. Can we even have two of these? Yes, we can. One on each side. So if we slow down, we need to turn back up towards the wind slightly. So we'll get sailing again. I'm going to take that one away. If we start speeding up a lot, if there's a big gust, we're going to get loads more speed, meaning we're going to get more induced wind, which is going to bring this back, which, yes, we're sailing fast, but like this guy, it then means that we're sailing a larger distance than we have to. So what we should do, in fact, is turn the boat more downwind and keep the telltale flying straight across. The only time when on a boat without Spinnaker, when we actually would sail deeper downwind, or times, the only times, firstly, if the wind is super light, like so light that you're only just moving through the water, then yes, sail further downwind than the 90 degrees apparent. And along with this, we want to get our weight super far forwards. So helm and crew further forwards than the front beam. So really far forwards, get the boat tilted forwards. That's going to really present the sail to the wind. By putting the weight forwards like that as well, it's going to help to keep the sails out as well. Gravity is going to help us, and we're going to reduce the wetted surface of the boat. And that is going to be the quickest when the wind is super light. So for two sails, that's what we're looking for. Now, if we're sailing, so we're just going to talk about the course first, because most important, as we know, I've talked about it before, is where are we going? This is course in relation to boat speed rather than the big picture, which we'll talk about in a bit. But if we're sailing with a Spinnaker, then it's slightly more tricky to quantify what the course should be. But if the wind is light, then the course should be, we'll turn downwind to hoist the spinnaker, because the spinnaker is going to go up much faster if we're deeper downwind. And then once it's up, we're just going to turn back towards the wind. And if the wind is very light, we're going to communicate. The crew is going to have the spinnaker sheet. And when he feels pressure in the spinnaker sheet, that is the angle. We're trying to sail as low as possible, but with pressure in the sheet. Now, what all of this is meaning is that with our sails, whether we've got 2 sails or we've got 3, if that is the front of our jib, same if that is the front of our spinnaker, when we feel that pressure in the spinnaker, or when the apparent wind is on 90 degrees, that means we're getting a flow of air over both sides of the sail, an even flow of air. And that is what we're looking for with the course that we're sailing in according to our boat speed. If we've been trapezing upwind with the spinnaker, sorry, without the spinnaker, but if we've been trapezing upwind and we're turning downwind, putting the spinnaker up, then our course should be to turn upwind until the windward hull comes out of the water. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to steer the boat for the variations in wind strength. So if we get more wind, the hull starts lifting, we're going to turn more down. Not until the hull starts dropping, but until it stops lifting any higher. In both situations, we are going to make all of our changes to our course very smooth and very slight. Very smooth, small, slow changes to our course. The only big change to our course will come if we get hit by a monster gust suddenly, or if we have to quickly steer to avoid an obstacle. Like if you're sailing in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, it might be a lobster pot in the water, which has just popped up in front of you. You're like, oh, we need to sail around that. But yeah, so small, slow adjustments to our steering. If we get hit by a gust, hull lifts, we turn more downwind until it stops lifting any higher. Because with the spinnaker up, if the wind is strong enough, the aim of the game is to keep the windward hull clear of the water at all times. Now, you may ask, how high? Well, the height would want to be, in an ideal world, just so that, I'd say, so that the windward hull is clear of the water. Like, you still want the tip of your rudder blade in, but you might fly a little bit higher, because that means if you sail into an area of less wind and the hull starts to come down, you're less likely to have the hull drop down into the water, which, if you compare flying the hull downwind to a foiling boat, it would almost be the same as if a foiling boat drops off the foils, hits the water, then it's sailing slowly again until it starts foiling again, like in the America's Cup. But with our thing, flying the hull, if we allow the hull to drop down into the water, then we're going to lose our speed, and we'll have to make a bigger adjustment to our steering to then pop the windward hull back out of the water. So course, very important for our boat speed. Hope everyone's happy with course there. We could talk for a full hour just on steering the boat downwind, but let's not. Let's keep this interesting. The second thing on the downwind is, what are you doing with your sails? So Traveller, we're going 2 sails first. Traveller, we want to set about between 2/3 and 3/4 of the way out. So quite far out with the Traveller. And this is the same for strong winds and light winds on the 2 sail boat. or one sail if you're sailing like a Prindle 15, Hobie 14. In fact, Hobie 14, and in fact, I dare say the Prindle 15 would be the same. We go straight downwind. So in that situation, you want to let the traveller all the way to the outside. Yes. All the way to the out. Yes. Yes, that's the right amount. But on a Hobie 16, Dart 18, something like that, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way out. And then you want to have the main sheet pretty slack. Of a quick way of gauging how much main sheet you've got in is to actually look at how the blocks are sitting. So if I just take our marks for a second. So if your main sheet is in tight, these are the blocks. The top block is directly above the bottom block, tight. If your main sheet is loose, really loose, the top block is at approximately 45 degrees to the bottom block. So that's what we're looking for on the light wind in on the downwind. In light winds, downwind, without a spinnaker, we want 45 degrees kind of angle between the blocks. That indicates that we've got the main sheet really loose. Okay. Jib, of course, really loose as well. Have the crew in the light winds, especially, even holding the jib by the sheet or even by the sail and actually pushing curve into the sail to keep it even all the way up. So actually pushing the clew of the jib forwards as well. With the keep the traveller central, and then once you've got your core, to then from that central traveller position play the main sheet so that we've got our leech telltales on our main sail. This is going to be small scale we're going for here. Leech telltales that fly off the back of the sail. This is the mast. And what we're looking for is, if we've got 4 of those, we want to see 3 out of the 4 flying, and this 4th one just disappeared round the back of the sail. So if you can't see any of them, the sail's too tight, let it out a little bit. If you can see all of them, the sail's too loose, pull it in a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, I think what we'll do is I'll just check in with everyone who's checking in after I've finished phase 1 of this big question for today. So the third thing that we can alter on the downwind is our trim, our options on the boat. So what I've just realized is I should get some very light colored magnetic pieces to go on this fella, and then you'll be able to see it really clearly. Very nice. But I haven't, so we'll do what we can. So light winds, no spinnaker, or in fact light winds either way, what we're trying to do is get as far forwards as possible. Can we see that? Oh, we can kind of see him sticking out, can't we? So as far forwards as possible, which in fact I'm not going to use that. I will use 2 of the no. All right, there we go. So helm and crew, there you go, that's the legs. Helm and crew, either side of the boat, forwards of the front beam. Really get your weight far forwards when the wind is light. And then as the wind increases, we're just going to move back slightly. Not because we're worried about nose diving to capsize, but if the nose of the boat is going in so much that the water is coming over the deck, then that's going to cause a lot of drag and slow us down. And as we get a bit more wind, that is more likely to happen. So we're moving back slightly and then moving back a little bit more as the wind increases. So we're just trying to keep the bows as low as possible, but without ever risking putting water over the deck. Good? Yes. All right. And then once we're into the realms of stronger wind, we're then going to start moving back. Now we're moving backwards to avoid putting the front of the boat under the water and actually sticking it in and capsizing. So we're going to be coming back just to make sure that there's no chance of that happening. But the biggest issue I see is with the people coming out to sail at Wild Wind sailing holidays is or people who are less experienced sailing downwind or upwind for that matter, is they're constantly sitting too close to the back of the boat, which causes a lot of drag. So get further forwards. If you can hear a load of noise, the wind's fairly light and you can hear noise coming from your rudders, you're too far back. All that noise is turbulence and drag, which is slowing you down. So get further forwards. So there we go. That is what I would say on trim for the downwind. Get far forwards. Sails loose, get far forwards, and keep the course steady. Okay, I'm just going to check in with who's checking in at this stage in the game. We've got Jens on board, channel member. Jens, good to have you with us. Oh, look who's there, the fastest man on earth. I don't know who you're talking about. We've got John on board as well. Thank you for doing this. I suck downwind on my acat. All right, well, hopefully some of this might help to some degree. You know, Jens says we are too fat to sail downwind. John says less barbecue and ice cream. Got it. Yeah, but you still, I think what is the most important is having a good time. And if not having the barbecue means you're not having as much of a good time, you've got to think about what's most important to you. An extra couple of knots downwind or a juicy steak. Yeah, I know what I'd do. Okay, Scott says, what is the minimum weight? Is weight added if you are under? Yes. To current minimum weight is it is 140 grams, which is 300, about 310 pounds. I think that's what it is. And yes, if your team is lighter than that and you go to compete, not all competitions would be too bothered. Like if you went and sailed in an open meeting, like a regional competition, not a national championships or a qualifier for something, or a European or Worlds or North American or South American or Australian championships, for a smaller competition, unless you were blatantly too light, like if you're trying to sail single-handed and on a double-handed boat, people might wave the finger, but otherwise they're not going to worry too much about minimum weight. But once you are sailing in an event which is governed by world sailing, which would be like a national championship competition, the helm crew have to weigh in when you register. And if your weight is lighter than the minimum weight, then yes, you have to carry some form of weight on your boat. Might be a lump of lead, might be like a water bottle filled with stones. I think that's reasonably common, or sand, water bottle filled with sand to come up to weight. And then you have to strap them into a fixed position on the boat. You're not allowed to move the weight that you're carrying on your boat. There we go. All right. Lee says my 1983 Hobie 16 is 352 pounds. I've found that raking the mast more forwards really helps. Fourth hole from the bottom, I can haul butt downwind. Yeah, if you put your mast more upright, your downwind boat speed is really going to be better. In fact, this is something I didn't write down in my notes, but the boat setup, the more upright you put the mast, so the less rake you put on your mast. So here's our boat, here's our mast. The more rig, more upright, we're going to be faster downwind. Yeah, so like Lee says, there we go. All right, we've got Russell on board. Hello, Russell. Would you recommend jibing off straight away? Okay, we're going to come to that next. Yeah, so we got Ryan there in Maui who says, what about goose swinging? Goose swinging is when you're sailing downwind with the mainsail out on one side and the jib on the other. So straight downwind. There's our massive mainsail. There is our massive jib. In other places, it's called wing on wing. Perhaps it's called butterflying. Perhaps it's called a great many other things. But possibly if the wind was very light. But in most classes which have two sails, it is more effective and more efficient to hit the angles. So get that 90 degrees apparent wind angle. All right, we've got Armored Lion on board. Hello. This might be a kind of stupid question. There are no kind of stupid questions. But how do you tell whether you're going downwind or on a broad reach? Sometimes when sailing, not on a course, I have hard time telling. Yeah, so I think this is what John has kind of answered as well. But the way to know if you're in catamaran sailing generally, we are calling the broad reach downwind. So it's two different names for the same thing. So our downwind course, which is here, this is a broad reach. So strictly speaking, broad reach. If we were to go further downwind like this, this would be what we call running. This is also downwind, sailing downwind, but broad reach, running, downwind, downwind. It's the same term for both. Are distinguished, determining by having pieces VHS type tape tied to the bridle wires and flying straight across the boat. That's how we can determine that point of sail. All right, so the follow-up here is that's what I thought. I don't usually sail with one which explains it. Yeah, it is the biggest upgrade you could give your boat if you don't have any wind indicators on your boat. It's the biggest upgrade. And if you happen to have any VHS tape around, or data tape, I think it's called, the ones that are on those reels, just a piece about yay long tied to each bridle wire, and this is going to make the biggest difference to your downwind sailing for the cost of zero. So definitely do that. All right, so Grand Fromage sailing, I believe that means big cheese. Can you talk about luff tension for the Spinnaker, light wind versus heavy wind? Now, as far as I know, having spoken to various people on the topic, is the luff tension on the Spinnaker is going to stay consistent regardless of it, whether it's light winds or heavy wind. If we pull too much luff tension on the Spinnaker, then what that's going to do is flatten the Spinnaker off more. So it's going to be a lot flatter, but it's going to affect the leech as well as the luff. So the whole sail will be affected. But if we have the luff too tight, it becomes incredibly twitchy and it's very difficult to keep it in the right spot. So every Spinnaker has a sweet spot, and did a video on this a little while ago this year. And what we're looking to do, have I got anything I can use it? No. is for a tornado, which can't remember what the luff length is. It's probably about 7 meters luff length on the tornado is, all right, here's our bowsprit. If, how are we going to do this? Right. Yeah. So if the spinnaker is going up here, we grab hold of the luff of the spinnaker and we want to be able to, with a bit of effort, we want to be able to bring that much spinnaker down so that it sits against the spinnaker pole, 4 fingers. So if we're at the other end of the spinnaker size spectrum and we're sailing, like, let's say we're sailing a Hobie 16 spinnaker, then it's probably going to be 2 fingers, maybe 3, that you want to be able to bring down because it's a smaller sail. So that is my understanding of luff tension. And once you've determined that luff tension, how much slack you need in the halyard, then the ideal would actually be, here's your mast. The ideal would be to bring the where the block is on the mast, to move the block up or down so that when you pull the spinnaker up, the top of the spinnaker is going to hit the block and that is going to have your tension in the right spot. The easier way to do it is, if this is your spinnaker halyard, to put a knot in the spinnaker halyard with a ball on it, a ball like this, mushy pea green, they're the fastest, to put a ball on it, and then you've got your spinnaker, head of the spinnaker tied on here, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that every time you pull it up, you know that it's in the right place. The other is keep it fairly low, because that is going to help us with our boat speed. If you notice with the sail plans of F-18 catamarans especially, is trying to bring the center of effort of the rig further down. Like now we've got the deck sweeper. We're also bringing the jib lower down. So we want to have the spinnaker lower down as well, because that is going to increase our boat speed rather than the amount the boat heels. Don't ask me about spinnaker pole height because at this time, because I will probably be making it up. There you go. There's some honesty there, right, for you. All right. So back to the live chat. Glad that everyone's interested with this topic, by the way. If you are interested with this topic, please take the time to use your favorite finger and hit the like button. That will help this favorite topic to be presented to more people out there on YouTube. If you really like it, hit the like button and then hit the super sticker, super thanks button, because that means that I can then go out and have a pizza or something later on, which is certainly not going to help my downwind speed, as we know. All right, back to the live chat. All right, Ryan says, oh, got some raffle tickets. Pretty excited to get the possibility of a week in Vasiliki. Get some tickets, everybody. Yes, get your raffle tickets now. If somebody fancies it, if you could put the link to the raffle in the live chat, that would be great. If somebody's at a computer and it's not too difficult to do that, that would be fantastic. All right, so where are we up to? Right. Grand Fromage Sailing says corrector weight. There we are. Yen says, this year I enjoyed going double trapeze from beam reach to broad reach. Very exciting, yes. All right, John, who sails the ACAT, says on a Una rig boat, which is boat with one sail, do you have any tips for avoiding stalls and keeping the sail powered up downwind? hope if once much, and we can talk about how we're going to make that happen, because I would certainly like to come try some real Texan barbecue. I know we've been talking about barbecue so much, it's making me hungry. I know for a lot of you guys it's only just gone breakfast time, but anyway, yeah. So of how to avoid stalling when you just have, oh, thanks very much, John, for getting in there with the super sticker. That's great. That's going to slow me down a bit on my next downwind leg. Thank you. Yeah, the whole trick with not stalling downwind is not being oversheeted. However many sails you've got, the quickest way to slow your boat down is to pull the sail in too tight. So that is why our leech telltales are so valuable. So when you're sailing with one sail, it really is half the time looking at the wind indicator at the front to make sure you are hitting the correct angle on the leech telltales. And so I would say after you've done a certain amount of hours of sailing downwind in the conditions that you're sailing in that wind strength, you should start to get a feel for the boat isn't going fast enough for this amount of wind. Where's the main sheet? Okay, we'll sheet out a bit. That kind of sheeted, that is what is going to be your friend. And you just have to be vigilant and change the mainsail setting and your course as you need to. But again, I think on the A-Class, probably more than anything, A-Class is very lightweight, very twitchy on the helm. So you really need to be very focused not to oversteer. There we go. That's what I'd say. All right. Yen says that feels very frightened sometimes. Is it possible to, from downwind up to the high speed course, a little bit desperados from beam reach? Yeah. Yeah. So when you're sailing a bit further up with the Spinnaker, then we're no longer really progressing on our downwind course. So this is more if we were perhaps sailing in a long distance race and we had to get to somewhere that isn't directly downwind, then perhaps we'd sail a bit higher. But generally speaking, we're just going low for that angle if it's wind enough so that we can lift the hull. But and then as the wind allows the hull to stay lifted or it flies higher, then we'll go deeper downwind. To the live chat after we start to call the next aspects on my list, and this is strategy. So strategy is, we've talked about the actual course that we're steering on the boat to sail fast, but our strategy, if this is our course, our downwind leg, we're going down to this boy here. Back to, I can't remember whose question it was. It was quite a Russell's question. Would you, after going round the buoy, would you jibe off immediately, or would you carry on this way? Because we've got, let's say we've got three choices of which way to go. And hold on, we've got a new color, orange. Who'd have thought it? And we are generally leaving marks to port, which means we're going to sail around the mark this way. We'll just keep it with one mark for simplicity. So if we're continuing on starboard tack, this means we could go to the mark just with one jibe. If we're jibing off immediately, we could employ is we go a little bit, then we jibe here, and then maybe we jibe back here, and then we jibe here to go around the buoy. So there's many courses of action that we could take. But if we were sailing without any other boats on the race course, then the way that we'd want to go, because catamarans are fast, what we want to do is we want to sail for the strongest wind. Wherever on the course the wind is strongest, that is the way that we want to go. If on the upwind, if there was definitely one side of the course which, like, everybody who went that way got to the buoy before everyone who went the other way, that is the same way that we want to go downwind, because it will be because the wind direction was more favorable, or because the wind was just stronger. And on the downwind especially, if we've got 3 or 4 knots more wind, our boat speed is probably going to increase. Don't like just throwing numbers around, as you know, but it'll probably increase about the same amount of boat speed. So you definitely want to sail for where the wind is. So do we jibe off immediately? If the wind is stronger on the right side of the course, then yes. But if we feel it's stronger on the left, then no. Or maybe it's quite a gusty day. So this is the other part of our general strategy without talking about other boats. If we're sailing down this way and we're getting hit by a big gust that's going through, and so we're in this gust, and if we keep going this way, the gust is going to come this way and we're going to sail out of the gust. So a lot of the time, if you are in a gust, it's good to sit in the gust for a little bit, but just at the point where we start to feel that we're sailing out of the gust, that is the time to jibe, because then by the time we've got here, this gust will have come a little bit further down, and this means that we will stay in the gust. The boat who can stay in the gust all the way down, that is the boat that's really going to have the advantage on that downwind leg. So perhaps don't be afraid to put in a few extra jibes and stay in that gust, rather than just say, no, we're going left. And then the gust goes down here, you're out of it. And then by the time you jibe, maybe the boat who's in the lead jibed here. Maybe this is Jens. He's winning down here. And you say, well, Jens jibed there, so we should jibe in the same spot. But he might have been sailing with a completely different gust, which was more over here. And that gust's no longer there by the time you get to that spot. So you have to sail in your gust and stay in that gust for as long as you can. So that should be your general strategy. All right. So the last thing with our downwind, before I get back into the live chat, in case there's more downwind questions in there, is if there's 2 boats. So what is happening on the downwind, if we look at where the wind's coming from, if there is a boat between you and where the wind is coming from, then we're going to be experiencing dirty wind. So the dirty wind downwind is probably going to be like this kind of thing. If you're sat in someone else's dirty wind, you're going to start sailing slower than the other guy, and the other boat, when he gets there, he's really piling on the dirty wind, and he'll be able to get in front of you. So 2 options when we're being given dirty wind. One is sit. 3 options. One is sit and take it. Not very nice, but if we definitely feel that we are going where we want to go, like, for example, if we were down here, then you haven't, you know, you're already on your lay line to the buoy, so there's nowhere else you want to go. Second option, rather than sit and take it, is to jibe. If you were thinking that you wanted to jibe to go over towards the middle of the course or the other side of the course, then jibing, not a bad option, unless you are sailing a 2-boat race, and then he might jibe as well, keep you in the dirty wind. So the boat behind actually has the upper hand. On the downwind, this is the funny thing. The boat behind has got the upper hand, because also, if you think about where most of the gusts are going to be coming from, they're going to be coming from up here, which means the boat behind is going to experience that gust first. So he's going to come down over the top of you with more speed. It's a tough one. Then the third option is you can start turning more towards the wind to gain more boat speed, but to also make him sail more distance and try to break free of that dirty wind. So you turn up a bit, you get more speed, and when you've got far enough in front, you could turn back downwind and your wind is safe. But by option 3, what that means is you're going to end up sailing a larger distance. So those are the options. But very important with other boats around is, especially if you're sailing with a Spinnaker, and this happens a lot, because downwind, especially if there's a lot of wind, or if you're sailing with a Spinnaker, if you're sailing on port tack, boats on starboard tack can come out of nowhere. And if there's a boat here also on port tack, as long as they've completed their jibe before you have to alter your course, then that's fine. They can do that. They can jibe in front of you, and you're going to have to stay out of the way. So you have to keep your eyes absolutely everywhere on the downwind, especially if you're on port tack, because what you don't want to do is to be sailing down there and this guy's shouting starboard at you and you haven't seen him, and you have to put in a last minute, not very well prepared jibe where you didn't want to. This is one of the worst things on the race course, is to have to respond, to react to other boats on the race course because of where they've put themselves and not because of where you want to be. Much better to be where you want to be rather than to be reacting to just situations that you haven't seen coming. So there we go. Yeah. Super. So I think for my notes and everything, I'm going to park that there. We've talked about downwind for some time now, unless there's any more downwind stuff in the live chat. All right. So going back to the live chat. Cheers, by the way. Welcome to the weekend. If you are entering into the weekend, it's a great time to sign up for the Water Speed 6 weeks of speed competition. That's if you're an iOS user. If you're an Android user, do check out the Sail Free GPS app. It's very good. It's packed full of features, and it's good if you're an Android user. All right, we got Rich on board from Tacoma, Washington. For a Hobie 16, do you have recommendations on mast rake and how loose or tight the rig should be for on the water adjustments, upwind and downwind? All right, so for on water adjustments, the only time when I'd adjust the rig tension on a 16 would be if I've gone out sailing and the rig tension is wrong for the conditions. I wouldn't be changing it between upwind and downwind. I would keep it the same throughout. So if with the rig tension, if when you're sailing upwind, for example, if every time you get a gust, or just when you're sailing normally, if you feel that all that the wind is doing is making the boat want to fly the hull, but you're not really feeling like the boat wants to go, chances are your mast is too upright, too tight, too much rig tension. So you just want to loosen off like 2 inches maximum, let the mast come back a bit, and then you'll really feel that when you get the gusts, the boat just accelerates on the upwind point of sail. And then mast rake, very, very similar kind of vibe. But if you're constantly feeling that you need to loosen your rig, it will probably be because your mast is too upright. So you should, this is for on land, adjust your mast rake. So go down one hole on the shrouds if you feel that the boat is never wanting to really go on the upwind. So we're adjusting rig tension and mast rate more for the upwind than the downwind. Yeah, and likewise, if you know that your whole day's sailing is going to be in light winds, and you've previously put your mast back more, then put your mast more upright, and that will make the boat more powerful. How do you know if your mast's too far back? It's if it is super easy to sheet in and get the main sheet blocks so that they're touching. If you can get blocks touching with very little effort, means you're going to have no tension in the leech of the mainsail, which means the mast is too far back. There we go. All right, Grand Fromage sailing, F18 downwind, dirty soak, or always try to fly a hull. Yeah, so dirty soak in this context means sailing deep. So we want to avoid the dirty soak as much as we can. So the time when we're not trying to fly a hull is if the wind is definitely light. Like if we haven't even been looking at the trapeze on the upwind point of sail, then you're not going to be flying a hull going downwind. So in that situation, then we're communicating. The crew is going to be calling the shots on the downwind for our course and our power. So if the crew isn't feeling any pressure in the Spinnaker sheet, the crew will say, I've got no pressure. So the helm has to turn up towards the wind slightly until you can get a bit of pressure in the Spinnaker sheet. And then that's a good angle to go for. But if like back here, like let's say we've jibed too early, this happens quite a lot. You've jibed too early and it's like, well, we can sail the next 20 boat lengths soaking. That means sailing really deep downwind. Or we could do another 2 jibes. If it's 20 boat lengths, 2 jibes. If it's 5 boat lengths, then the dirty soak. All right. Declan says, I have pinned the raffle link on the Joyrider TV Discord server because YouTube doesn't allow posting URLs in the live chat. It's a really good prize. I think so too. And, you know, if you didn't know, part of the prize is to come for a bit of a white knuckle ride with me. What could be better? Yeah. Okay. We got Chris on board. Hello, Chris. Who sails a Hurricane, checking in. Have you any, sorry, you're right at the bottom, so I can't really read it very easily. Any thoughts on the America's Cup racing? To be honest, the America's Cup at the moment, I only watched one of the races, and that was in the Louis Vuitton round, which was, what's that, the semi-final? Before the semi-final. Yeah, so I watched some of the races there, and you know, this is this is controversial. I don't usually go down the controversial route, but I thought for the you know, the technology is amazing. The boats are bonkers, so fast, really amazing, and they're the nearest things to some sort of spacecraft that a sailing boat has ever achieved. But the actual racing, most of the races, once there's a couple of boat lengths difference and the boats aren't interacting with each other, you know, you get pretty used to the ridiculous amount of speed that these boats are sailing at. And I didn't find it that exciting to watch. That's my honest opinion. Sorry about that. But I think we're into the finals now, aren't we? So maybe I should have another look. I'll have another look, Chris. All right. And thanks very much to CA Marks for the super sticker. I'm guessing in Australia. Yeah, thanks very much. Everybody can get involved with the super stickers if you so wish. If you think this content has been worthwhile today, or and actually at this time, I'll have to say no further questions unless they come accompanied with a super sticker, because we're over an hour now, and you know, it's almost time for a pizza or something. So I have got another question in the, this is completely different, by the way. This is absolutely in no way related to sailing downwind. I think that's probably the most I've spoken about downwind for quite some time. Probably apart from during the archipelago raid on the C2 with Declan, when we're going downwind, probably talking about sailing downwind quite a lot there. But okay, this one comes from Phil Heth, who says, Hobie 16s, is there a problem with dismantling and reassembling them often? Example, if you're going to a beach for a weekend and you want to transport your boat on the roof of your camper, and you get to the beach, assemble it there, so you've just got the hulls on the roof, probably the beams and other stuff inside. You'd probably need a two-piece mast to be able to do this. But and then when you get there, assemble the boat, spend a weekend, after the weekend, take it apart again, and off you go. Is there a problem with that? I would say, apart from the amount of time it takes to put the boat together and apart, I would say there isn't a problem, provided that when you put the pylons, this is our pylon, into the casting, this is the casting. Casting is attached to, let's make this the front beam. We have the same on the back beam. There's the Dolphin Striker. It's all gone a bit off there. But just make sure you use some grease, some waterproof grease. Just put waterproof grease on the top inch of the pylon so that when you put the casting on, it will push the grease down over the whole thing. And that means that the boat will come apart much more easily, and you're not going to it's probably actually if you're doing this like once a month, once every 6 weeks, it's probably going to be better for the boat than not taking it apart as frequently, to be honest, because you're re-greasing it. That means you've got less chance of metal rubbing on metal, because as we know, these boats do twist, and when the boats twist, you'll get some metal rub, which if it isn't greased or lubricated, we're going to start losing some material there. So it's actually going to be beneficial to take the boat apart more frequently. But would it be more feasible? All right. So if you, Phil continues, are there other performance cats suited to going on the roof of a camper? Well, the boats that were designed for this sort of sailing specifically were the Dart 15 and to some extent the Dart 18. The way that the beams slot into the hulls, They are quicker to assemble than a Hobie 16, and the way that they slot together, much more user-friendly for constant disassembly, putting together quicker. As far as performance cats go, obviously the most what's the word, feasible boat or suitable practical boat for this kind of sailing is the Minicat, of course, because it is, you wouldn't even have to put it on the roof. You just put it inside, pump it up when you get there. If you've got an electric pump, it's taken care of. Thanks very much, Declan, for your very kind super sticker. Very kind of you. After all that you've done, you brought me to Sweden and helped me to get back. And yeah, thanks very much. All right. So yeah. So the other thing, thank you very much, Ryan. Wow, we're really, I think the pizza for dinner has just gone up a level to a mixed grill, I think, which is really going to slow things down on the downwind course. All right, so just to finish Phil's question, yeah, thanks very much, Ryan. Very kind of you with the super sticker. All right, so if you wanted to put any type of catamaran, it wouldn't want to be much more than 2 meters 40, which is what a Hobie 16 is, on the roof of your vehicle. If this is your vehicle, we've got wheels, this steering wheel, driver, big happy smile because he's going sailing for the weekend. Lovely. And there's the wife. She didn't want him to bring the boat. Oh no. All right. So the way to do this would be, I would say, if you're going to be doing this regularly and you didn't want to tow a trailer, custom roof rack. And you'd want your roof rack so that it's basically like how the boat trailer would be, maybe not that wide, with little pieces that come up with rollers on the top, so you can then put your boat on the top, still assembled. This is A grade artwork going on here, I think you'll find. So you've got your boat on the top, mast probably slips through the middle. It's 2 pieces, all strapped on nice and secure. And then, of course, you'd need to have some sort of scheme for how you actually get it up there. But you'd probably want, if we have our vehicle side on, don't worry, I'm not going to draw the wheels. All right, yes, I am. Would be to have a roller right at the back. And then you actually have the bits that it sits on a bit further forwards. So you get the bow of the boat up to here. And then once you've got that on, then lift up the back of the boat, wheel it on until you're past the balance point. And I would think that would be a pretty good solution. There we go. So there you go, Phil. I hope that is helpful. Ryan said it's the Minicat super sticker. For those of you watching later, if you've made it this far, it's a picture of a very small cat. Declan's, by the way, has got some sort of superhero. Don't know if that's a potato or a pear. It certainly looks like someone who'd be quite slow on the downwind. So there we go. I think that brings us up to the finish line. Thanks, mate. Enjoy a pizza and or beer. Yes, I certainly will do. Thanks, Declan. And Ryan asks, how did the epoxy permanent attachment that I did on the 16 do? My 14 is being resurrected and I was thinking of permanently bonding the platform. Yeah, I think see how tight your 14 is first. I would say that the actual result after after one summer season with the 16, epoxying the hulls to the beams, it's worked absolutely brilliantly. The boat is still mega stiff, very tight, no independent hull movement or very little. But 14s, because they're smaller, are generally a bit stiffer anyway, a bit tighter to get together as well. So depends if, when you're on the land, if you lift one of the bows up, does the other bow, how long is it until the other bow comes up as well? Is it like you've got one of the bows up a foot? If it is, before the other one leaves the floor, then it would be worthwhile if you never, ever want to take that bad boy apart again. Whereas if you lift it and the other comes up very quickly afterwards, then maybe it's not actually worth it. But because the 14 is smaller, they're generally tighter to get together, so maybe it's not as necessary as on the 16. But if you feel that that boat is loose and you never want to take it apart, then yeah, go for it. I think it's a good idea. All right. So, Declan's super sticker is an illustration of going downwind. Thank you very much. All right. So there we go. Thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks to everybody who has already entered the raffle. You can find details of the raffle. I'll put them in the description below. Or there's a video from earlier on in the week that says something on the lines of win a holiday at Wildwind. The details are in there. Otherwise, yeah, smash the like button, and I will be back with some more new video coming on Sunday, something we haven't done before. So stay tuned for that one. Of course, channel members will be able to watch that as soon as I've finished editing it. So well done to all the channel members out there, but also to everybody else. By the way, the video index has been updated. You'll find that on Patreon, and you don't have to be a Patreon subscriber to access that. Just head over to Patreon, which you'll find the link in all of my videos. Other than that, if you need custom design t-shirts and stuff, get involved. Need a custom design bad boy 95? Probably not, but maybe. Nice drinks cup, very good. All right, so I'll see you soon with some more, and that's what we'll do. Thank you very much, and goodbye.